Hey everybody, this is David Oleski with part two of the interview with Jessica Stoddart-Ladd. Jessica, if you're out there, please get back online. I don't know why we got disconnected, but we're going to try to pick it up again where we left off. Oh, and there you are. Oh, wonderful. Jean. Hey, welcome back.
Yes, my apologies. I'm not sure what happened.
That's fine. It could have been here, it could have been there, don't know. This seems to be happening almost every one of these interviews now.
Oh,
So that's fine. So pick up where we left off regarding your color selection.
yes.
To me, it seems like you're grabbing like time capsules of certain eras in color history, like the 70s had a color, the 80s had a color, the 90s embarrassingly had its own kinds of colors. Tell me about your color decisions.
Well, I do like bright, and I like it to be colorful and playful to a degree. Um, One of my favorite painters is David Hockney, and I really liked the way that he used his color, and the color kind of says a lot, and it speaks a lot, just the color itself. So then you add your subject, and you kind of get that, wow factor, that pop.
Do do you figure that out ahead of time, or does that evolve as you work on the piece?
I would say a combination of both. I mean, I have an idea of where I'm going, but sometimes once you start working, there is a sense of intuition of it's working or it's not working. So, uh, it's kind of a process in the making.
So, another interview I had, we talked about how there's certain images you go back to because you know you'll sell them, and they don't necessarily represent the more adventurous things you're going to do, which might have more risk involved, but is where you really have the discovery and the next plateau. So talk about with your work, is there images that you'll keep reusing and reinterpreting, and then what proportion is purely experimental of you trying new and different things?
Well, I definitely do have some subjects that are in a series that I've done a series of, and that people relate to, they connect with, and it does well. So you do them often. I do that. However, I also try to push the limits with different subjects and have something different and new. So the next year I'm there and they don't see the same thing. They see something, you know, different. And I like to change and evolve like that. Not always do I do a subject where I think, oh, people are going to get that. But I'm kind of deep sea fishing with what I do. I'm not trying to catch minnows. I'm going for the big tuna out there. So
Yeah.
I do try to push the boundaries a little. I've One subject is a can of sardines, and when I first did that, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be something people are really going to want to look at. And I started to go small. I did a few smalls, but then I was like, I'm going to do a really large one. And I love kind of, when people look at it and it's not something that they're used to seeing that subject wise. And I think that adds value to the rest of the subjects I have in my booth to have something that's a little different, not necessarily, the safest subject to do. And I enjoy that. I mean, when I was in college, I worked with tar for a while. I was always trying to push the limits a little bit. Uh, Deschamps, Marcel Deschamps was one of my, favorite people when I was in school. So I do like that more edgy, more avant-garde work. It's a little more, it's exciting to me.
Yeah, I don't like experimenting on new things small. I would rather just commit to see how they read big and risk having a really big clunker.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that 100%. And it's exciting to go big. Um, you know, just the scale alone, I think, makes it much more interesting. Um, totally. I
Yeah,
agree.
I mean it's more of a you're making a statement and a commitment instead of it just being an experiment, and you'll never know how it reads large until you go large.
I know, I almost feel like once you go large, it's hard to go smaller,
Right.
you know. Large is exciting.
Yeah, it really is. And, in a business sense, it separates you from, the majority of people that work mid-size. When you go large, you're getting the notice of a viewer that has a large space and makes large decisions and thinks as big as you do.
Yes, and I think what ultimately led me to go large, I got a large fan, so I was able to then go larger, and it was kind of a game changer for me, honestly. In the past, I had worked large, but was unable to kind of take those larger pieces to shows. But once certain things changed, it definitely opened some new doors.
So Stephen Anglim just joined the broadcast here. I mentored him at the Coconut Grove Fine Art Show last year. And what we're talking about right now is going large as a commitment
Yes,
and just finding any way you can to make a bigger statement. And he's just getting started doing these outdoor shows. And I know, he's excited about what could be done,
yeah.
but it's really hard to get emerging artists to embrace the commitment of going big as your statement. And also, you can't hide little shortcuts and shortcomings in a smaller piece when you go big. That every detail is big.
Right, I agree totally. And it's a lot of real estate. I mean, not only are you going big, visually with details but you're also taking up a large sum of the real estate in your
Well,
booth. So,
there's that.
yeah, it's definitely a commitment when you go big.
Yeah, and it's risk. I mean,
Yeah,
when you do something like that and tie up an entire wall of a booth, that means all of your travel expenses, booth fees, everything, basically one quarter of it or fifth of it, if you have outside walls of that, all your expenses are going to that piece or that series of pieces.
right. But of course, I deliver the large ones, and I do love seeing where they go,
Right.
and we hang them as well. So the collector gets the full white glove treatment. And to me, it feels like from start to finish, like it's complete. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
you see it on the wall, there's a sense of, it's there safe, it looks nice, you see where it's staying. So I do, with the larger ones, that is my favorite.
So in doing shows for so long, you probably have many, many clients from over the years. Do they come up to you at shows and say, I look at your painting all the time. It's a huge part of our home. Do you remember me?
Yes,
And
I
do
do.
you?
I do. It's really a weird thing. I am horrible with names, but I can be at a show where I recognize that person and remember it, like, just comes back. It's the craziest thing. And I've been on deliveries where pieces of your work has been hung in their house as well, which I think is fabulous. So I love that.
Yeah, I love seeing other, and being able to name them. Sometimes they don't even know the name of the person. It's like, oh, I know them. I'm good friends. We had dinner. And
Exactly.
yeah, it's a fun part of going to the homes where the pieces are going to live. But I've been doing shows now for coming up on 25 years. And people from the entire 25 years are coming out of the woodwork and saying, do you remember me? It's like I'm really prolific, and a lot of pieces have gone to homes, and I realize it's a huge piece that takes over your entire living room, but I'm just wearing out. I mean, I used to remember details of everything. Now, if they start to lead me into it, I can tell them the conversation we had, what wall it's hung on, what other colors, what other artwork.
Mhm.
But as far as their name, no, with a gun to my head, I would not be able to remember names.
I know names are hard, but
Yeah.
faces and houses, deliveries.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, Amborn, reviews things before we get to the show. Like, oh, we sold to this couple, you remember them? And this couple, you remember them? And I'm trying to drive, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to. And then we get there, and they do show up, and she does know their names and every little part of it because you reviewed it ahead of time. And
Right.
so you have to love our support group, like John and Amporn, that are supporting us from, backstage to let us be who we are in the front.
I totally agree, and I can't express enough, how much John has played in what I do. He, we met in college, so he's seen me grow and change and been a part of that for 25 years. So yes, we need that support, we need that help, and he's recently going back to school to get his master's. So
Wow.
um, I am proud of him and couldn't do it without him. And he's seen me at my highest and lowest parts in this business. So, I need him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we just celebrated today our 16th anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. And we're celebrating by putting in a floor. We're completely redoing the second floor of our house. We're putting in a tongue and groove bamboo composite floor, and every single piece getting hammered in tight and glued down perfectly. And if you can still work that closely together
Yeah,
16 years later,
that is amazing. I love that. That's a great way to spend the day, and
yeah, I mean, we'll go out and have some kind of a dinner later, maybe. I think she wants to finish. We have a loft. She wants to finish getting the floor on the loft, so that might be our celebration. We'll see. I was kind of hoping to do something a little nicer, but getting work done is nice too, so that's
that is
fine too.
that is nice. I love to get that work, the job done, job completion.
So, so what else are you doing? Are you do you go to Florida at all for
I
shows?
do, I do Winter Park, Gasparilla, and Images, which is in New Smyrna Beach. But Florida is a little tricky for me. You know, I've tried different shows. I need a little bit of a younger audience that's collecting. Um, I've tried some where they're like downsizing and they're kind of an older audience, so that doesn't quite work for me. But how about you? Well, I know you do Coconut Grove and
Yeah, I every year I try to do 4 or 5 Florida shows. I think this year I think I have 4. I think I just got rejected from Winter Park. Winter Park just sent out their announcement, didn't they?
they did.
Right. So I got rejected from Winter Park, but that's fine. I'm not being defensive or anything. And did you get in?
No, I did not get in, and
Oh,
it's interesting. I've received several awards from Reno Park,
as
and
did, as did I.
I've also got an award, not the highest tier, and then the next
You're
year,
not invited back unless
for
there's a certain tier. And
I know. So it's one of those things where you never know. You never know.
yeah, I know. And you really want to be in it. And you're wondering, what do you people want? Is there anything I've done within my entire back catalog that would help me be in the show this year?
Right.
It's confounding. I, uh, yeah, I don't know, but that's fine. More time off, more time at home, more time just, doing what I do. So that's it's fine. I just, not the end of the world.
I do agree. Elon is 12. I, John and I have been doing shows for almost 20 years now. So I think the older I get, the less panicky, I get about oh, I didn't get in. Well, there's nothing you can do. So I just try to look at it, Elon's 12 and spend more time with her and enjoy and work on other things. So instead of looking at it, as a negative, I try to see the positives.
Right. And it all works together. And if you get in next year, then people that missed you say, oh, good, you're back, because now they're ready to make a decision.
Right.
They say, what absence makes the heart grow fonder,
Yes.
even in the art show industry.
I, yes, I agree.
Yeah. But I am in a handful of really great top tier shows, and I'm really excited about the shows that I am doing, and I'll be giving them 100%. And it's all, yeah, it's all good. And we have, because we have, I think, 7 weeks off between the Gasparilla in Tampa and the start of the Northeast season, we might take a trip. I might go somewhere really fun.
Well, good. Good. That's important.
Yeah, spring is a great time to take a trip, and we love traveling, and and that's a great time to be almost anywhere, whether it be Japan or Europe. Just early spring, just it's a fun time to be those places.
I agree. I 100%.
So, you rarely make it up to the Northeast, so most of your shows are Southeast.
Yes, and also our schedule, because Elon is in school, we've had to tailor our schedule a little bit around trying to, not have her miss too much or what's close by that's more convenient. But as she gets a little bit older and things change, we'll become a little more flexible again. So some of our situation is just where we are at the moment with our life.
Right,
So, but
right. So does anybody have any questions here? It's been a real quiet the scroll coming up. You can sketch says it's them, not you guys, so we don't have to take rejection personally. That is it's their problem, not ours.
yeah.
But yeah, so if anybody has any questions for Jessica or myself, or like about anything about life in general, because who could you get the best answer from than a couple of talented and experienced artists like ourselves?
Yes,
So
great.
anything you feel like talking about? Did you have any questions?
I can't think of any questions.
What's on your easel now?
I have two orders I'm trying to get done before Christmas. One of them is a large popsicle,
Oh,
um, so it's interesting. But and then the other one is the lady. I don't know if you've seen it in the bathing suit. It's kind of 1940s, a little bit Art Deco-y styled. So I've those two that are on my easel, and then I'm priming canvases. Excuse me, and just trying to replenish stuff to have it ready to keep, things flowing easily.
so do you still do the show in Atlanta, the Dogwood Atlanta? I don't know what it's called.
I haven't done Dogwood the Atlanta Dogwood Festival, I think is what it's called.
Right.
I haven't been there in years. I only do one Atlanta show. That's Inman Park. Have you ever done Inman Park?
No.
It's a little bit of a smaller show, but it's in a historic neighborhood, and it's close for us. We're like 4 hours
Right.
away. So I've several collectors, and for me, I've been there over the years, so it works. For me, I don't know if I would recommend driving,
Right.
a long way for it, but Dogwood, I did it for probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, and it kind of just tailored off a little. So
Yeah.
I try to find things if switch up if it's not working.
Yeah. I did it a handful of times. It just it never seemed like really like a focused audience. It felt a little more like just like a city festival in some ways.
Yes, it did seem more like that towards the last few times I did it. But I don't know. I've had some good shows there, so it's kind
No,
of
I always sold something and sometimes did well and had follow-up sales, but just the trial of going through a long show like that, and there's nothing easy about it. The setup, you're driving in and a crazy setup, and then you're never anywhere near the show to get back to finish setting up.
right.
I mean, you definitely get your steps in just to get anywhere near the show. But and it's hard to find shows in April if you don't want to go to Texas.
I did Four Bridges in Chattanooga as well. Have you ever done
I,
that one?
I haven't, and I just missed the application deadline. And not that out looking to turn over stones I've never turned over. I've heard a lot of people really like it, but like if I'm driving west from like where I am near Philadelphia, I don't like to stop until I'm in Chicago. I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything worth stopping for, not Western PA, not Ohio. And I feel like if you're going south, once you leave the Northeast corridor, the next stop, Miami.
Mm. Do you do any Michigan shows?
I used to do the Ann Arbor original.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I just felt like that's not sustainable. Like there's that much heat and long hours and just it's actually stressful to be at a show around the clock in the hottest part of summer 3 days in a row.
Yes.
It's like that's not sustainable. You couldn't live your life normally like that. And I don't want to interrupt a healthy lifestyle just for a show.
Right. And as I get older, that is important,
As a
you know.
consideration, it wears you down. I mean, a show should be over at 6 o'clock and go get yourself a good, healthy dinner and early night sleep and hit it again in the morning. This thing of a show running till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, that's nuts. That ruins your dinner plans, your sleep schedule.
Right.
And, and I don't see a huge return from it that, I'm ready to, sell my health for sales.
Right. I've never done Ann Arbor. I've heard stories about it. My parents, they used to do it. So uh, I'm second generation. I don't
Oh,
know
yeah,
if
I
you knew that.
did not know that.
So
Wow.
yeah, I when I was a kid, I remember going to shows and walking around and looking in people's booths, kind of, critiquing if I liked it or didn't like it. So I've seen the shows and the booths, the work change. I'm 46, so I have seen it change a lot in 46 years.
Right. Well, I'm saying well, by the time you were cognizant, you were looking at what, 42 years. So was there even like an art show industry with canopies and display panels 40 years ago?
I don't think there was. Um, People kind of made their own booths. I
Yeah.
remember they would do chicken wire and frame it out, and nobody really had a tent. They might have had a little tarp or something to throw over their booth, but it's definitely become more of a slicker operation than I
Right.
remember as a kid. And we did go to a lot of craft shows as well as fine art,
Right.
but I feel like the work has changed. The people that are making it, it's a little bit of a different um, group of people than when I was younger.
Right.
So
I mean, I started doing shows right at the beginning of the internet when not a lot of people had access to the internet. And I was catching the tail end of a golden era when if you didn't buy it when you saw it, that was it.
right, the 80s were
Well, even in the 90s, that people, there was those are the glory days I've heard about that everybody was booming because once you left, that was it. There was not an online catalog or online contact.
right. So do you think it was better then or better now? I mean, we have a wider audience, but then it was more special and unique, like get it now or you can't get it. So, you know,
Well, I mean, it's different. Whether or not it's better, I think it's more demanding of us to be really making an impact both in our display and in the work. But also. I mean, that's a good question. I think, I'm very demanding of myself that I keep exploring, that I make that almost my brand attribute to regularly have evolution and revolution, especially with my abstract work. And I don't know if that would have felt as important if everything I did sold all the time.
I'd like to see. I'd like to find that. I'd like to try, see if that helped. But yeah,
Yeah,
I I don't know. I don't know. It's different. I think it's like anything, you know. You wish you could just cherry pick and make it all one little perfect scenario, right?
right. And, or people say I want to cut back on shows and only do the really good ones. It's like, well, what's a really good show? Any show could be good if you do the right outreach and the right people see you and remember you.
Right. I know
Yeah,
everything is such a gamble. So much depends on a good show. You know, the weather, who shows up,
right.
um, the economy. There's so many fleeting factors that a year in advance, it's hard to 6 months in advance, how, you know, to make that call.
Yeah,
Um,
here's somebody mentioned they would think it requires a lot of marketing now. I don't know. I mean, some people just show up and just set up and sell, and they don't really think twice about maintaining a website, social media presence, mailing list, or anything, and they do perfectly well. I mean, some people have like the Midas touch that everything they create is so appealing and attractive that it's just a constant river of work moving out.
well, I think those people would be my guess or assumption, I should say, that if you're so focused on your work, the other things might not be as distracting to you. So you're fully on. And so perhaps your body of work is getting that all that attention instead of trying to go down so many different avenues of, you know, spending the time on other things. You're giving it you're all on one thing. You're putting all your chips in one
Yeah,
corner.
instead of like trying to install a floor to save money to pay installers, trying to put in my own floor.
Right. We do like to go down a lot of rabbit
Well,
holes.
we do. Well, that's what I mean. We don't really have jobs, so we can go ahead and do big house projects if we have a window of time. And it's like, oh, the art thing, yeah, I'll just go play catch up later. But getting the house done, that's the real thing.
Right. The real work starts when you're 7 weeks off, right?
Right? Yeah. That's when you finally get home, that's when you can get busy.
Right. Right. We do wear a lot of
Yeah,
hats. And
we do wear a lot of hats.
we kind of
Thank you, Jessica. This was a lot of fun.
thank you so much. I'm glad that it all worked out ultimately. I
Yeah.
apologize about the technical difficulties we had. So we'll have to do this again.
Absolutely. And so I'm going to have a link to Jessica's Instagram profile on the thing here on the whatever you call that, the post. And so you can look at her work. And then, of course, right now the window is open to apply to the June show. Again, the dates of the June show are June 6th, 7th, and 8th. And the deadline for the application is January 13th, 2025. Can you imagine 2025? It's not a song in the year 2525. No, that's 500 more years. So yeah, January 13th is the deadline coming up. So make sure you get your application in, and students, you have a bigger window just because we like to make way for the young forming artists. You have more time to apply, but start thinking about your application. You definitely want to be involved in this. Thank you again, Jessica. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you.
And
Happy anniversary. Tell Emporium I said hello.
thank you so much. I will do that, and send my regards to John and thank him for helping rig the paintbrushes and lighting and everything that happened in the background, I'm sure.
Yes, there was a lot of rigging up. Thank you.
All right. Good to see you. Take care.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.